I never tire of watching that particular one. It's really great. And it's not quite like that though, but so culture, behaviour and strategy. Anybody want to go for any of them? Culture?
Culture, I would probably define as sort of almost the working environment, sort of some of the ethos sort of regarding the way people, not necessarily the way people work, but sort of how the company tries to make it so that it's a happy place to work.
Can you teach it, do you think?
Yeah.
You think so? I mean, we believe that you can only really set a culture in an organisation by how you act and how everybody acts. And that's really what I'm going to talk about this thing called LEAP. Strategy.
That's more towards sort of...
You've answered. Somebody else has to, sorry. There's the rules. I didn't tell you the rules. And is it the what and the how, or just the what? Okay. And behaviours?
Knowing how to deal with, encourage, discourage, improve.
Okay, it's all actually very difficult stuff. The strat plans and strategy is all about defining where you want to take the business and how you're going to get there. You've been doing a bit of that in terms of what you were doing earlier today. But the culture is this sort of endemic thing that is bred in an organisation. I spent some time at Ashridge College, the management college, and it was a really good course. It looked like a good course anyway. It said supreme performers for supreme performing organisations. I thought, cool, yeah, that's a panacea. Let's go for that. And by 11 o'clock, from some very, very clever people, I looked at my BlackBerry and wondered if there's something else I should be doing, because I didn't understand a word they were talking about. They were talking about paranormal activity and this, that, and the other. And really what they were doing was talking about something they call management by storytelling, the way that you can assert a behaviour, assert a culture by actually practicing stories. So it's not selling stories as in lying, it's actually about talking to people about what is right and what is wrong. And one of the examples was a guy that was a surgeon in our team, because we did what you're doing, broke off into various teams. And he was talking about, well, in fact, all he was told was, tell a story. I won't do that to you because that's a bit cruel. But he said, oh, well, once we were doing an operation, I had to take an organ out of somebody, and it was a really heavy 2-hour session. So I just threw the organ, because it wasn't going back in, across the room to somebody and said, here, catch this, just to break the thing up. And everybody said, oh, Jesus Christ, we're supposed to be reasserting good behaviours here. And then another one which really made me smile, and it was a bit like you attempted yesterday. There was this gorgeous blonde girl who was from GMTV, and she was one of these people that set up the whole show, etc., and have to have it on time, etc. It's going live, blah, blah, blah. So this was when one of our ministers, one of our blind ministers, I guess who that is, because there's not that many, he was supposed to bring his dog into the studio, and the dog had died the night before. So she rang him and said, look, I'm really sorry, but could you bring your dog in? He's dead. Yeah, but they won't know, they'll think he's asleep. So you can reassert positive and negative behaviours, and that's really the point of that particular story. So if I can just talk about LEAP for a moment. The LEAP stands for leadership, entrepreneurship, audacity, and paranoia. And the first two you've probably come across before, and the other two you're thinking, those are strange terms. So let's talk about this in a little more detail. But this is where these things link. If you've got your strategy right as a business, if you've got the culture and the people behaving in that sort of cultural way and that reassertion of what's good and what's not good, then you've got a real business differentiator, which is different from the technical differentiation and the other bits and pieces. And it makes it a fun place to work. So leadership. Determine the future direction and vision of the business. That was about that strategy we talked about. Notice these first words. What do you notice about these first words? They're all actually open expressions, aren't they? They're all sort of positive. They're all sort of pushing forward. Nothing's closed. If you go to some companies, it'll be about compliance. It'll be about governance. And if they reassert that too much, clearly we have to be safe, we have to be in the law. But if you over-assert that, actually it takes the fun out of the business. It means you don't get any fun doing the job anymore. So actually the cultural part of a business is really, really important, because a business gets what it gets out of joining you guys together. And if you don't do that effectively, and you all enjoy it as well, then it's just not going to work. I've been in a large organisation where every day had a different task. I've been in other organisations where you've had the project all the way through to the end. And I can say to you that although you blew up the power station yesterday, in 1989, you'll be pleased to know that I was the project manager for a project called RIMNet, which is the UK's radiation incident response network. So we are actually safe, or at least we know how many people are dead. That was, by the way, a 200 man-year software program, and at that time, software and comms was particularly ropey. Not ours, but generally. So you've got to communicate inspirationally. If we all do that, we all confuse each other. Have we seen people today just sitting there thinking, oh, man, does that help? Did we all sit down, or did we stand up and do it energetically? Inspiring and energizing the business, that operates right the way across the customer base, the teams, etc., and the suppliers. Stimulating an innovative culture is also a very, very difficult one to actually do. How do you innovate? How does Microsoft innovate? I went to an innovation course some time ago and asked that question of Microsoft, and they said, well, I'm not sure really. We've got 26,000 staff, 600 of them are in R&D, but actually they're not in labs and things. What they're doing is they're walking around at the market and looking for the businesses that are building the next widget that I can now build into my product. That's the way they innovate. It's a pretty safe way of doing it. It's actually the way that Ultra work, because we look for technologies and buy companies to become part of the brand. So, could you have the next slide? So that's leadership, entrepreneurship. It's again, look, encouraging, seeking, ensuring, seeking. It's all about positive assertion of the approach. I'm not going to read all the slides because time's short and you can do that anyway. I want to put that home in on the next two. Audacity, being bold and being daring. There's a fine line between audacity and arrogance. If you say, this is the best product, you're going to have it. Well, it's not very audacious, but it is very arrogant. Audacity is really about actually stepping back and thinking, well, actually, could I do something else in a bid, for example? Can I find out what the customer's top 5 real issues are and win on every one of them? That's a winning bid. So that's an audacious, bold approach. When my company asked me to be the cybersecurity strategy director, I had to define the strategy for the business. And I said, well, we'll double it in 5 years. And they said, go away, we'll find somebody else to do this job. 10 times, please. Right. I went back and I sold them a 20 times approach. Not because I knew that I'd failed the first time, but because I was showing them that I was being audacious. I was just testing how audacious they really were. So the whole culture that we use is about this audacity thing. Think about it. Think about the bigger picture. I mean, we won the UK's battle space cryptography replacement program. So this is taking all of the top secret cryptos that are across our battle space today, 28 of them, all different types, about 6,000 different units, and we're replacing them with modern technology. We came third in that bid. We came third to Celex, Thales, Kinetic, Ultra awarded the program. Why? Because we came third on the price. The actual solution was a very clever solution where we'd stepped back and said, hang on a minute, they're going to have to put these in aircraft, they're going to have to put these in submarines. The certification costs of those platforms, the rewiring costs of those platforms is going to be absolutely staggering. Let's look at the cost overall, and that was really what we won on. So they were estimating something like £1 billion to do that across the fleet, and it's now looking like 30 million. So that's about being audacious. Paranoia. This is seen as a negative term often, isn't it? And we're talking about positive assertions here. But what this is about is know that somebody's always behind you going to eat your lunch. You guys have all come up with a really great idea this morning. I've been around and it's been wonderful watching you do that. But somebody else will be wanting to steal that idea. Somebody else this morning said, well, let's patent it immediately. And I have a different approach there. I gave a presentation to GCHQ not that long ago about these cryptos we're talking about. And they said, oh, Ultra, is that something to do with Ultra Secure? If you look on Wikipedia, what Ultra Secure is all about, it's about the Enigma and codes, etc., and top secret traffic during the war. It just happens that we called ourselves Ultra and we're in the crypto market. So it was nice branding, but you've been looking at how you do branding today. Sometimes things just like drop in your lap. But the other question they said was about patents. And I said, we don't bother. And they said, what? You can't possibly do that. I said, well, look back at the story of Enigma. Actually, if we'd have looked at the patents office, the Germans had actually put the designs into the patent office, and we could have found a lot more information about the cryptos before the Poles and others ever did. I said, so that's one reason why we shouldn't want to do it. And the second, because that means that somebody else can pinch it, and you only need to twiddle it just a bit and reapply for a patent, and somebody steals it. The other problem is it makes the lawyers rich, and who wants to do that? I mean, there's a lot of bureaucracy goes around, servicing patents, and the lawyers absolutely love it. And when somebody breaches your patent, how much is it going to cost you to actually sue them? Okay, Samsung and Apple are having a damn good go at it at the moment, but will they win in the end? What will it do to the marketplace? It's the interesting thing, and we don't know what the answer is today. So, some of these things, let's be paranoid about who might get that information. One other thing is, though, that we talk about this, and you can have a pamphlet that's got lots more detail about it if you want to read about it. One of the things that we do is we believe we compete in an open competition, and what that means is in an open information environment as well. So we'll give away all of our good ideas. What we're looking at is by being paranoid that people will follow us and pinch our ideas, we don't care, because we're going to go do the next stuff, because they'll be behind us. And that's a much more sort of energetic and audacious approach. So that's all I wanted to say. I'll talk a bit more tomorrow evening about what we actually do, which might stimulate some of you as well, because some of it's quite esoteric, and I think some of you will like that. Thank you very much.